There is a lot more to utility billing than just the water bill. In fact, your utility bill covers water consumption, sewer collection, solid waste collection, and stormwater fees. Extraordinary efforts were made to achieve a user-friendly citizen experience, whether registering as a new customer, transferring service, or simply paying your utility bill. The process can be done completely online from the homepage of the city's website at www.codb.us. Alternatively, a citizen may wish to visit City Hall and initiate the process in person. A customer service representative would then personally assist the citizen, helping guide them through the process to completion. Once an account has been created, any citizen may enjoy Daytona Beach's award-winning water, along with all other utility billing services, as well as enjoying the peace of mind of being connected to the city's Advanced Metering Infrastructure (AMI) system. The innovative system replaces monthly manual meter reads with a wireless system that collects multiple remote reads per day, allowing for better leak detection, increased billing accuracy, and improved customer service. Advanced metering supports our commitment to preserving and protecting our environment by reducing carbon emissions and enhancing our ability to quickly detect and stop leaks, and provides our citizens with daily information on water use so we can all improve our efforts to conserve. This is one example of what goes on inside Daytona Beach when we leverage
All right. Call to order. Let's begin with a roll call.
Okay. Gary Libby,
Here.
Robert Ellis,
Here.
Tony Servance,
Is Tony meeting us via Zoom or no?
We don't know if he's
We don't
attending.
know.
We've sent him the link.
Okay. Well, then, do we want to make a vote
If
to
he comes-
allow
if-
him if he comes in?
Yeah.
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 Well, you need to have, well, I guess assume his reason is the same issue that's ongoing. Okay.
Yeah. Same issue. Okay. All right. Well, all those in favor of
We need a motion and a second.
I'll move that we invite Mr. Servance to join us if, in fact, electronically he can do that.
Second.
have a second? All right. All those in favor of Tony meeting?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Seeing none. We have that passed.
Amy Pyle, Helen Humphreys, Raymond Masson, William Bittorf,
Here. You said it right, too.
All right. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So we'll begin with an approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Does anybody have anything that they would like to amend on the minutes or? All right.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor? Say aye.
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 All those opposed? Seeing none, we'll move forward there. So we're going to have a staff report, but first off, as we usually do, we'll go ahead and start with the report from the police department. Go ahead and get that out of the way. And I think we see Helen coming through, so.
The slow poke.
I've been here twice. Once by mistake yesterday. I had the virus shot, and then I slept around the clock and didn't know what day it was.
I'm glad you're good.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. I'm Sergeant Catalano. Nice to meet you all. This is actually my first meeting here with you guys, so
Good to meet you.
nice meeting each and every one of you. So what I can tell you is obviously this weekend is going to be a pretty busy weekend for us. I'm sure most of you know we have this unsanctioned truck event coming into town. We are pretty well staffed. We have, I think, over 40.
It's this weekend,
Yes, ma'am. So it starts.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah. So we have two events. We have Trucktoberfest starting Friday and Saturday, and we also have the BCU homecoming event. And like I said, we are pretty well staffed for that. I think we have over 40 officers and supervisors working both of those events. So we should be pretty good on that front goes. And obviously we know of most of the other issues that we're always trying to work on with, the quality of life issues, especially along Beach Street. So every morning we've been, or not every morning, but every patrol shift, we've, at least on the beach side, we've been doing outdoor briefings at the pier, the boardwalk, behind the band shell, trying to, have a little bit more of a presence in that area for the quality of life issues. So that's pretty much all I had. Any
Well,
questions?
sounds like you guys will have a very busy weekend.
Yes, sir.
And a next weekend after
Yes.
that. And thank you for your presence.
Yeah.
I believe we're probably going to have a couple questions or comments here. But so let's go ahead and start at this side and work our way around.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well,
He's dressed better than me. He looks better. Anyway, thank you
you
for your
both have
service.
collars. You're winning.
Thank you. First off, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Second off, my colleague, Amy Pyle, which I'm not putting her together,
Yep.
I know she probably want to talk about, but she came up with a very good idea with parking and really kind of solidifying that and making it more uniform.
Okay.
A lot of the problems that we're having on East ISB, which I can see is there's like a place called Beaches, to where there's a lot of these work trucks that are just parking all over and blocking his business. They can't even pull into the parking lot.
Is this from the
Road
construction?
yes.
Okay.
I've had the same thing, but it's not as, I'm more accustomed to dealing with things and,
Right.
I've had it on my properties also.
Me too.
And I have a lot of properties there, and I say they fill them up, and I've had to clean up trash after them and do all that kind of stuff. Is there any steps that we could do, or is there any kind of thing that we could bring forward as a redevelopment, or even for Beachside, to where we could get this implemented plan that Amy has? I thought she had a really good solution. It was a couple of meetings ago, actually, on how to make this more uniform for parking, so people know where they can park, where they can't park, and they know what's illegal and what's not, and they just get towed, and we collect tickets. We give them tickets, and collect the
So
money that way
I
for our
think
city.
the ticket aspect would kind of be hard for us to do if they're out there for a purpose of,
But if they're parked on
repaving.
private, if they're parked on private property legally,
so one is they can't
Doing
really
damage.
block.
I mean, as long as you have a towaway zone sign, I believe.
Yeah,
you
so
can
there's-
call
they
it.
won't tow them. I have a towaway zone. They will not tow them. Tow trucks will not tow them.
So part of it
hard
is
one.
making sure that they comply with obviously some of the laws on the books, not blocking sidewalks and blocking private driveways, because obviously that's an issue. I would probably get with my other sergeant back there, but one of the things would probably be, in my suggestion, would be trying to come up with an area that these people can park, like a designated area for them to park. So we just got to find where that could be for them.
There's not enough parking on East ISB. And if you have a parking lot where you're charging for parking, they shouldn't be allowed to park for free. I don't care what they're doing, unless the city comes, unless you guys say, hey, it's one of you guys could park anytime on my property.
Right.
But those guys, they just leave a mess.
Yeah.
Chuck, the guy, the gentleman in Bacchia, he was mentioned to me about the guys across the street, Chuck Duva. He has a place called Beaches, and the renter on the other side actually just left. They just went out of business because for like a few days, like 4 or 5 days, they couldn't
Right.
get into the.
Retiring. They really, yeah, and that belongs to Beaches anyway.
Yeah, if you're
I know,
talking
I know,
about
like-
west,
Where Raven or any of that is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so they left more because they were
Well,
retiring.
he owns,
No, no.
he's bought that.
no. I think we had a meeting right here. Dr. Duva made a presentation with Cobb Cole.
Yes.
When he wanted to build Beaches, and the key was a serious parking problem, because the square footage of his building exceeds the available parking on his side of the street. So he bought from the Peter Katsantonis estate through his widow, the old Gateway property.
Working on.
But he came here and he convinced us, to the degree, they didn't have a landscape plan and they didn't have a parking plan. And we really worked on him to share with us what his plans were. And he's way overdue in taking down the building and having a parking lot there to comply with his.
I don't know if they're doing that right now, but I drove by it 2 days ago,
Yeah.
and it looks like they have a backhoe that's getting ready to
Yeah,
doze
I
it.
think they're
So I
he's
think-
just way
I think they're
behind
working on their parking.
schedule.
behind.
But we were, that's our problem. We allowed construction to go forward with
Okay.
commitments from the owner.
That makes sense. He just came to me and complained because the FDOT people were blocking his customers for coming into his place,
All right.
and that's all.
So do we have any questions for the officer, or we can save this all for public
Yes, sir, I
comment?
appreciate it.
Yeah, but does anybody have any questions
Yeah,
for the
the only
officer?
question I've got to ask is,
Yeah.
are we planning on having bike events on Main Street? What will be on Main Street during this next this truck thing?
Honestly, I can't really give you a confirmed answer on that. I really don't know, other than I don't think there are any planned, not that I'm aware of,
I do know,
events on there.
since my business is on Main Street, yes, Biketoberfest is coming, and after that, Bike Week is coming.
Sorry, were you talking about Bike Week or truck?
The truck.
The
The
truck
truck,
event,
right.
It's an
It's
unsanctioned event.
unsanctioned,
Right.
so there's nothing.
there's-
Nobody knows anything. It's
Supposed
unsanctioned. They decided to come and pop up, and
Yeah.
they put it on social media. It's unsanctioned.
Right.
I
correct?
think probably
Yeah.
Pinewood Cemetery will be closed then. We have a sign up there that we're closing on all or all Main Street related events because they just tear the cemetery up. They leave cars parked in there, they camp in there.
Well,
I mean, it's
Gary, with the truck thing, they don't stop
No,
anymore.
Okay.
They stay in their
They do
truck.
not.
Okay.
They're mainly teenagers that buy beer at
But
gas
if
stations
it's-
and ride around in the
We
if
truck.
you
Sure.
get
Guys.
any
Yeah.
complaints about it
They don't
being
even buy
closed, that's why,
Yeah.
because we've lost headstones have been removed by
No.
some of our visitors.
Totally
Maybe
understandable.
Biketoberfest, I'd worry about it, but the truck event,
Yeah.
that's a non-issue. They're not getting out of the car.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a question. So how are you ramping up for truck, unsanctioned truck week or whatever you want to call it? Is it allocated for you guys to get overtime and detail cops?
Yes, so we've
Even if it's unsanctioned?
Yep, so we've mandated, like I said earlier, over 40 officers and supervisors that will be out, and that's in addition to the normal patrol shifts that are out working. So you're gonna have the patrol shifts that are normally supposed to work. They're gonna be the ones that are going out, answering the calls for service as we get them. And then we have, like I said, more than 40 officers and supervisors that have been mandated and are gonna be working overtime on both Friday and Saturday to be addressing all the traffic-related issues.
And
So they'll
does-
be out there doing
sorry.
proactive enforcement.
Thank you. And does that include the beach as well, helping out the lifeguard and Volusia County Sheriffs? But,
Well, we're always here to
well,
help
the
and
trucks
assist.
tear it up, so.
As far as the beach goes, no, we're not. That's all up
All
to
county.
Volusia Beach Safety and the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. Now, if it's an issue where it becomes, where they need additional officers, obviously, we're always here to help one another out with mutual aid, so.
Okay, thank you.
So it's a separate jurisdiction, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes all sense.
One thing that I used to like was you guys would be on bicycles and would ride into my store and then circle on out, and it just sort of made it more community-like.
Right.
So, yeah. But we appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you.
My kid's great-great-grandpa was the first chief of police of Daytona Beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
May I?
Yeah, of course.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to say, I attended the Police Academy graduation on the 2nd, and congratulations on your 10 new
Wow.
Yep.
recruits,
Thank you.
graduates, and be nice to them. It looked like a heck of a bunch, so.
Yeah, I think there were 10 in that, and I think there's another class of 20, I think I heard 24 or 26 that are in the next academy class, so.
Wow.
Yeah, we're definitely increasing in numbers, which is a good thing.
Is that fulfilling your quota?
That and to fill, just all of our empty spots right now. I haven't looked at our org chart, but we're still a few spots down, so it'll fill that, and then, obviously, as you all know, our city's expanding, so.
Right.
Yes.
How are you guys planning on putting them in for the event that's upcoming? Are you guys going to put the rookies up in the event, or are you guys bringing a few of them in with supervisors to get them used
Yeah,
to
so
it, or
they can't be
it's
put
quite
out.
an ordeal? Yeah.
They can't be put out necessarily on their own. They obviously have to be
Right,
supervised.
of course.
So
Yeah.
a lot of times what the city will do is we'll potentially use them in a special events officer role, which is not really a police officer role, but more of a traffic related.
A violation role. Yeah.
But for something like this, they're probably not going to be out too much just because they don't have the authority yet to take enforcement action.
Right.
But on other events, similar to like
next
bike-
weekend.
Bike week
Yeah.
and stuff like that, those events, they'll be out on corners helping direct traffic and stuff, so.
Okay. Well,
Will the substation be open on the weekends for the activities
Which the new, the
on
one.
Main Street? Not the new one, which is outside of the
Mm-hmm.
redevelopment zone, but the one that's in the redevelopment zone. Is that going to be open on the weekends, for special events?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Are the new ones young like you?
Well, I appreciate it. Honestly, I haven't met them all yet, so I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
all right.
By the way, my kid's great-great-grandpa is buried in the cemetery across.
In
the
Pinewood?
street. Yeah, Isaac Fine Humphreys.
Very good.
Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So before we move on to everything else, do we have any changes with anything on the agenda, or is it going to go forth
Yes,
as it is here?
Mr. Chairman, code enforcement, they are not able to come because they have a conflict on their schedule. And I would like to move 5E before 5C. So,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So
so
we'll
I-
cancel code enforcement and move the project updates
yes.
up to where that is.
Instead, yes.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move forward and let's hear what project updates we have.
So we have some updates with what we're doing. I know that as you've been having some questions, so I have some answers tonight. My first point is the Peabody. This board one of your board members wanted to know why we are not having enough events. So right now it's under the management of Mr. Morris, and he mentioned that he was going to call you and give you the information directly. But he also mentioned that if you all agree, he can come before this board and make a presentation on the Peabody, and he can explain better of all that they are doing. So that's up to you.
I'd like to move that we do invite Jim Morris. He's the assistant city manager, and he has a lot of authority over many things, but Peabody is one of them, and he's done a magnificent job there. And I think it would be very helpful if he came, because I think that Peabody will be a potential recipient of our largesse of redevelopment in the future. And so I think it'd be very nice if we're all up to speed on the efficient new setup, the new employees. It's really a model, and I was very impressed when I looked. I'm glad I asked the question because I don't think any of us knew the changes that have happened in the operations at Peabody. But
I don't think we'll need a second. I think we can save
Yeah.
until comments until we're done with everything.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess Angela asked us if we, and I'd officially like to see if we can invite Mr.
Oh, yeah, of course, and
Okay.
I think everyone will second a motion.
Okay.
I think we'll
Yeah.
just let
I will
Angela tell us everything and then
Yeah, I will
move
set
to-
up.
Move to our seconds and
Yes.
everything afterwards.
I will
'Cause I
set up
think
that, and
everyone would be pleased
I'll
with
have him come and present to
Yeah.
you and give you the information.
He even mentioned us going possibly over there and viewing everything, so, which would be very nice, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you give us all the updates, and then we'll move
Okay.
from there.
So the second point is that we do have design standards for Seabreeze Historic District. The only thing is that we don't have any paint color applications for Historic District. The design standard says, for Seabreeze, says that if anybody decides to do a big changes in the color, then they have to reach out to the Historic Preservation Board. But right now, the city doesn't have any way to enforce that, because unless they don't come through permit and licensing, we don't have any way to know if they paint their color, a bright blue, like is the case.
This is Seabreeze, you're talking about Seabreeze
Seabreeze
outside of the
Historic-
zone.
Yes, it is
Okay.
outside, but since you asked, so I made my homework.
Yeah.
And I have that information for you. Redevelopment, we do have paint color applications. And in order for you to paint the house or buildings, you have to submit an application. And we, staff, manage those colors,
Okay.
okay?
Very good.
Okay, so we will be putting an RFP out for a development of market rate housing on a property that we own. The property is located at 210 North Peninsula Drive. There was a church, and so we are working on that.
Is that
It's not-
the property where the church burnt down?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. That's-
Is 1.3 acres, and we are requesting proposal to develop that. and we want possibly market rate housing.
Okay.
Angela, is this document on our notes?
I don't know.
No, no,
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
but I can send an email if,
That,
You
I think
need
that
it.
would,
Minutes with-
yeah, it'll be on our minutes or,
Yeah.
yes. The other thing is that we have received some pricing on the kiosk. Finally, the prices range between 18 and 9,000 for each device. So what we are doing, our next approach is the IT department is going to take the lead on this project, and the CRA will pay for it. So
Of course.
we are.
are we looking into getting one for like all the districts?
Yes.
Yeah, and they're all interconnected? Like, do they all have interconnectivity? To where
What
if you're
do
in
you
one
mean?
district, you can look up what's going on in the
Yes,
next
of
district?
course, throughout
Yeah,
the
yeah.
city.
Throughout
You
the city.
can look,
Yeah,
yes, you
yeah.
can look throughout the
Okay.
city. We are looking
That's
at
great.
kiosks
Yeah.
that can display emergency announcement. Let's say that there is a storm, that you can have that emergency announcement, that you can have your restaurants, historic sites, webpage, city events, city facilities, and also the wayfinding options. That you can, we are going to put the QR code. You click, you put your phone, and it will guide you. So it will be very interactive. We
That's
are
great.
in the phase one. We're still looking because we need more companies, more proposals. But once we decided which company we go with, I will give you the update on that.
This
Thank
will
you.
probably have to go out for bid.
Yeah, gonna need
so-
3 bids for competitive nature.
Well, we don't even, as long as we put it out for bid, we could have one company submit their
one
bid.
bid, okay.
But it has to be done. So it's gonna take time for purchasing to prepare the bid document, then time for us to give them to respond to the bid, and then so unfortunately, it is not a fast-moving process. It'll be, it tends to kind of go slower, but just kind of make you where could be at least 90 days from now, if not longer.
And there's another option, good option too.
One question sticks to my mind. I love the kiosk. It's the best thing that I think is going to hit us in our community. So what steps are we going to take to stop? Are they going to have cameras on them so we can monitor them, so in case somebody vandalizes them or something like that? I'm not saying it to happen, but my big concern is I've had things where I put cameras up on East ISB to stop crime and they just rip the cameras down.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that was one of our concerns, and when we had the meeting with IT, that was one of the points that we may. They're looking into that.
All right.
We know that it can be vandalized, but
Trying to find the one that can withstand the most abuse. Yeah.
These kiosks are very,
Durable. Yeah.
durable and well made in case of vandalism.
Angela, are they going to be permanent installations or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So they'll be like on certain corners in each district or each populated, area like Main Street that would need it or
Yes.
Seabreeze?
Yes, definitely Main Street. And we are going to take the one that we have now, we are going to disappear.
Oh, we'll miss it.
And another one, we haven't decided the location, probably another one in A1A, and one downtown, one midtown.
That's great.
Yeah.
I got one point. Angela, my question really wasn't about people applying for their paint colors in historic zones. It was who is going to be in charge of policing the fact that they don't come to you and they paint their house or their business a color that's not on your zone or definitely not in the actual printed booklet for the Seabreeze University Historic District. That has its own book of design standards that
does.
was passed by the city commission. The question was, who is going to enforce, and what do we do with a paint contractor who is unaware of it, and he sells a couple? I think your house would be great in fire engine red that will glow in the dark, and it's contrary to what you have, you know, as a recommended color, and it's certainly contrary to what we have in the historic district that I live in, and that's why I'm aware of it.
Okay.
So it wasn't, I appreciate wonderfully that you're going to be in charge of it on Seabreeze, because Seabreeze has some great possibilities there. It's who will do the policing, who will tell them what they can or can't paint, and who will make sure they don't do that.
Well, okay, so we do have a person that take care of Seabreeze. I'm not in charge because it's outside of the redevelopment area.
Right.
So I can ask, it should be code enforcement, but they don't have anything right now in place to enforce the color of the building, sadly.
If, you know, I know we have either 2 or 3 historic districts on the west side. I know we have at least 3 over on the east side, and we are working with property owners to make sure that they maintain the integrity of their houses or their buildings. So it seems to me that we should have somebody on code who is connected with that, who could help people, because it's usually the sin of ignorance. A painting contractor doesn't think he needs to come and get a permit. He tells you, I've got the most gorgeous orange. I saw it in the Bahamas. Beautiful. You'll love it. And it's not, you know, an allowed color.
Yeah. Well, I will direct your concerns to the proper department.
Well, it's not a complaint as much
A
as it's a
concern.
question.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
should we? I know that no one wants to ask a homeowner to repaint his or her house.
Exactly.
You know, so how do we keep that from happening in a nice way? Should paint contractors be notified once a year that there are painting standards in the city of Daytona Beach? We'd appreciate if they check in with somebody with the city, or, I mean, do they need to have a permit, a painting contractor?
They don't.
For even a big building?
No, sir.
No? Well,
There
that
is-
might be a nice source of income. for
Well,
the city.
actually,
It would pay for a permit inspector.
well, I think the state has, I know with regard to licensing, they have pulled back the local government's ability to license those types of contractors. So I would say that they probably would not look favorably on permitting if we.
The state, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying they have pulled back on allowing local governments to license a lot of these types of trade contractors that don't necessarily impact a life safety type thing usually. My thought would be that they probably have or would consider us trying to regulate by permitting would also be frowned upon. Just throwing that as more of a warning, or, you know, it's a slippery slope.
See, it's very hard to promote historic preservation, even though our tax assessor will tell you the historic districts in the city have the highest taxable value of any residential property in our city, because people want to buy the older houses because for a variety of reasons. Their location is one of them. Location is the second, and location is the third. They're on the beach. A lot of them in our area are on the right 5 minutes from the beach. But it's very hard unless you have a booklet like we have Seabreeze University. And if you don't have that, Angela, I'll see if I can get you a copy of that, because the city did it. It's in effect, it's our city law in
Yes,
that
sir.
district, but it's not enforced. And
You're talking about the Seabreeze Historic District Design Guidelines? There is actually.
no, I'm talking about Seabreeze University, National Register, and local designated historic district. That's a residential area. We didn't go to Seabreeze because the businesses on Seabreeze did not want to be included, because they were afraid of over-regulation. If they knew we don't have any regulation at all, I'm sure they all would have joined in. And we've lost a lot of the older buildings on Seabreeze. It would have been nice to have kept. But it seems like this is an area between two good causes that has been overlooked, and I don't know if there's a way to solve it. Ken, do you have any thinking on something like this? I mean, how would we solve it?
Not quite sure.
I know, it's a tough one.
Yeah, yeah. But we'll look into it
Calls
and
to
get
be
back to
made,
you.
and
Yeah, okay.
we'll see
Thank
what we
you.
can figure out.
So although you're talking about a different district, using the Seabreeze Historic District guidelines as an example, there are no specific color requirements, because depending on the style of the house would influence what color the house would be. In the guidelines, the Mediterranean Revival would have been quote-unquote warm colors, the yellows, the oranges.
You're talking about Seabreeze University now, because there is no separate district just for Seabreeze Boulevard.
I'm talking about the Seabreeze Historic District guidelines. That's what the title is.
Yeah, but what is the geographic area that you're talking about?
it
What are the
go-
perimeters, the parameters?
Halifax University,
That's, you've got the wrong name. It's the Seabreeze University.
the title of the
District.
document I'm reading is the Seabreeze Historic District Design Guidelines.
Yeah.
So it maybe should have been titled the Seabreeze University Historic District, but it's not. But the point being is that there are no specific color guidelines, because it depends upon the architectural style that the house is.
You're
So-
correct. You were absolutely correct. The reason it shouldn't have Seabreeze on it is because at the meeting, the final meeting to pass the district, the manager and some of the property owners on Seabreeze asked that it end at Grandview, not Grandview, one of the east-west streets just to the north of Seabreeze. So Seabreeze Boulevard isn't in any, it's not in that historic district. And I don't know who went to the city to ask that it be created in its own. It's probably a good idea, and I know the people who bought the hotel at the end of the street, right on the ocean, are very interested, because they have that's a historic building. You used to be able to drive right through this, underneath it to get out to the beach. But Seabreeze is all by itself now. I'm pretty sure about that, because I walk door to door and help sign up people to join the district, and I live right in the middle of it.
Okay.
And but I agree with you. It would be nice to extend maybe
Gary, I think we have some other members who want to make
the
comments.
standards, and I appreciate that. But I didn't want bad information to get on our minutes, and then we'd have to come back and correct the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
My
Amy.
only comment was that I understand this is important to some, but it's not a discussion of the CRA board, so it sort of eliminates the rest of us sitting here. I would appreciate discussions about Seabreeze. You can talk with your city commissioner, you can talk with the historical preservation board, talk with the city commission themselves, and there could be rules that need to be changed, but it's not anything that we can even vote on. And we've had a lot of discussion over the past 2 or 3 meetings about it.
Well,
It doesn't seem to be resolved.
I will say it seemed like more of a question about just historic paint colors and what's appropriate and who's checking up on that and everything. Though as far as I do understand, Gary, it is a case-by-case thing. Having 2 historic buildings, it's a case-by-case thing. And you register your paint code with them, and they'll approve it, and then no one really checks up on it,
No.
I mean, it's, as long as it's appropriate, but I understand your
I
question.
wouldn't have
I
gotten
think it
into
was
this
just a
if
general-
Angela hadn't talked about the Seabreeze
a lot of our things could
district.
be
It's all my fault.
Forgive me.
across
It's
the
all
board
my
in general.
fault.
Forgive me.
Okay, so.
So, Angela, do you have more to update us
yes,
on?
Yes.
Yeah. We can circle back, but yeah.
So another point that I have submitted a grant proposal for commercial facade and professional design assistance. We currently have grants, but this one is different because we are going to include design assistance. And the reason why I'm proposing this grant is because there is a lack of investment from some of our business owners, so we want to incentivize them to change the way that they look.
Okay.
So what is different in this grant and the ones that we have now is the amount of dollars that the CRA will contribute to this. The CRA will pay 80% of the total cost of the project, and the business owner will pay 20% with a maximum amount of $50,000. For the design, is up to $20,000. And we are going to, if it's approved, we are going to give you all the details.
And what all
because-
projects is it for?
I'm sorry?
What all projects is it for? Yeah, but I mean, what all?
Oh,
It's all
the
facade,
It's exterior.
facade,
Yes,
so,
exterior.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Exteriors
Yeah.
and
Signs,
design.
awning,
Mhm.
windows,
Yep.
frontage.
Yep.
That's great.
In the current grants that we have, we do not include impact resistance windows, and we are including these.
That's
in
great.
this one.
I think that'll help keep our buildings safer
Safe.
in that zone.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've had a lot of buildings get damaged from storms and had to get torn down. They shouldn't have ever had to be torn down
Yes.
in all our zones. So I think that'll be great. Yeah.
So hopefully you will start, if it's approved,
Yes.
you will start seeing more businesses applying for this grant.
Bravo.
That's big news.
Bravo, bravo. Yes, great.
Good, very good. You want us to approve this?
Well, it's under, we are doing the final
It would be nice,
revisions.
it would be nice if we were asked to approve it, because I
Yeah.
think we will.
But I don't think we finalized it yet.
No, we
So
haven't.
we're gonna bring it back to you
Back to you
for
with,
your
Coming.
approval.
yes,
Yeah.
with all the
Yeah.
description, with everything and all the process. Because if the grant, the total cost of the project is more than 25,000, it needs to come
Yes.
here for recommendation and then before the CRA.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And my last point is, have you noticed this signage that says Boardwalk Amusement
Oh, yes.
on Main Street? So it is in very bad condition, so we are in conversation with Public Works and to see if we can change those signage.
Excellent.
In the meantime, they are requesting that we fix the letters. He hasn't received any proposal, any estimates yet, but once he receives, and while we wait until a proposal to change the sign, we are going to fix it. I just wanted to let you know that we are working on
great.
that as well.
That's great.
You are appreciated.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And also lighting on Main Street. I know I've heard a lot of business owners letting me know that at night it's very dark. So we are putting together a plan to get better lighting on Main Street.
That's great.
That's all.
Even a switch
great.
to LED would increase the light levels there by 2.5 times, Angela. See if the fixtures can take the LEDs. We put them in the cemetery as a test, and they were amazing how the power bill went down and the light level went up.
Yeah,
So it might
LEDs
be
are great.
something like that.
And I think it's only, from my experience, being on the street every day and working on the street every day, it's your first couple blocks on the street, there's no problem in lighting. You get past your first couple blocks, and it's, I don't know if it's not all the lights come on or what it is, but
Yeah.
it's spotty, so you'll
Yes.
catch corners that are dark.
There are no
Yeah.
buildings
working.
there, and even
The
those
lights that are
lots.
on are bright, but
Yeah.
it's just not enough.
Yeah. Maybe the lots that are not being used for buildings right now should be lit in the evening. No, they're not, and most of those were Teresa's property that now I guess is ITT property, but they have lights, but they're turned off in the evening most of the time unless there's an event going on there.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys' work, and I appreciate the update. So, do you have any questions for them that we haven't already covered?
I'd like an update on the Silver Beach project. Could someone from staff share with us where the city is on that project?
Well,
Well, I
they
think-
have their continuance tomorrow is the
We-
planning board meeting
Right.
tomorrow. So we don't know anything.
So we'll hear about it next
And-
meeting,
Well,
more than
exactly.
likely.
If the continuance, if the amendment is
special meeting.
intense enough, do they have to rotate back through us? If they reduce the height, I think they have to come back to the board. Or the setbacks, if there's any change away from the actual permitted requirement. Because they're asking, I don't know if they're going to the Board of Adjustments for the setbacks or not, but the building is, since we have no height limits in the city, the only way to judge the height of a building are the setbacks. So are they going to have to come back to us, I guess is the question.
Not for the rezoning.
Not for the rezoning. At this point, what they're actually proposing is less than what came through here. So it's
By less, what do you mean by less?
well, from my understanding is the building is shorter,
than
the
we already
setbacks
approved
are,
before.
are greater, that it's
They're not-
smaller than what was approved by this board.
Thank you,
That's my understanding. I have not seen it, but that's my
Could
understanding.
we
of
find
what-
that out?
I was at the meeting.
Yeah.
They did another neighborhood meeting. They reduced the height by 3 stories, and they reduced they increased the setback, was it 20? 20 and 40 on different sides, whatever.
That's a big, that's a good,
So, but overall, the neighborhood people that came were, I felt like they were opposed. There were a few that spoke in favor, but all that information should be hopefully presented to the planning board tomorrow. The updated minutes from the neighborhood meeting that they had last week. So I would advise, if you really want to find out what's going to happen, watch the planning board meeting or attend the planning board meeting so that these guys don't have to update us next month.
Amy, any environmental study requirement?
Just what was in there originally. But
Which
this is-
wasn't, they didn't have an environmental study in there.
No, I think they did.
Okay.
Well, and again, once they actually come back through for the site plan, that's when a lot of the reports and studies are required. This is just a rezoning.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't required now, it will be required when they do the actual site plan.
So they'll come back to this board? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, depends on what the final
on what they
project
build.
is, whether or not it would have to come back to this board. I believe.
What are the conditions under which it would have to come back to the board?
We'll find out.
Because rather than change our opinion, try and, we were so embarrassed, I was embarrassed when the planning board did what we should have done, and that was sort of slow the project down. But I'd love to know where we are on that project.
Well,
Amy, are you clear on where you think this thing is going, or is it still
Oh.
hard to say?
no, I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like they changed it enough to move the planning. The planning board was pretty sure they were going to vote against it, it seemed like, before they jumped in and said, oh, let's knock off a couple
Right,
stories.
right.
So we'll see if planning board has been moved somehow. They may say, oh, this looks like they've trimmed it enough. But there's some very outspoken, activists and neighborhood people that live immediately in that area that
Yeah.
are opposed to it for a number of reasons. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night at planning board. But I would advise watching that to kind of educate yourself on how it's being handled, because I don't think any of us watched the other planning board meeting.
Is it here, right here in this chamber tomorrow
Yeah,
night?
and you can watch it on
Is it tomorrow?
tomorrow night, and you can watch it on your computer at home if you
Do
can't
we
make-
want to have a representative at the meeting tomorrow night?
I don't plan to be there, but you could go and speak.
Well, what
I
do
mean,
you
it's
think?
public comment.
What does the board
Well,
think?
you
I mean,
decide. You have to decide on your own.
We
Well-
only passed it in order to move it on. Nobody was raving about the project as presented to us. We all had huge hesitations. There's a list of I wanted 4 conditions added on it, and we were told we couldn't vote yes with conditions.
I would advise you go to the planning board tomorrow night and get up during public comment and let them know, because they're very attentive to what people say in the meeting, and you
would
kind
agree,
of
yeah.
get a real
And
feel
tomorrow
for it.
Well, right now, they have, the record reflects our approval of it as a group. That's the problem.
Moving on. 5C,
Seems simple.
we have the budget.
Thank you for the budget.
Thank you for the budget. even
Thank
though
you.
we're- even though I went a couple of times.
It's public record, but I can give you,
I
I
know,
can
I'm
give you a copy.
I'm teasing.
Do you have any questions on the
Yes.
budget?
Does anyone have questions about the budget, or?
No,
In
just
order,
just that I gasped when I saw that the income
questions.
for the city taxes is less than what the police budget alone is.
Well, a lot of policing.
You gotta have a lot of police when you have these events, yeah.
Yes.
A lot of policing during events. I don't have any questions myself, so, no one?
I do have one. I don't know if this is on.
What page?
Maybe Ken, you could advise it. I'm not sure exactly what, but the allocation of funds, redevelopment has like the biggest funds, 5 million or something. And it's nested in some category. And the other redevelopment zones don't have it. And of course, I'm looking for it. I can't find it.
It's on page, is it 7?
Yeah.
I believe so. Okay. So I was just curious if that's a annual allocation that
Yes.
comes from the state or something, or,
No, no, that's a tax increment financing.
I don't know. Thank you.
That's a portion of its real estate taxes that come back to the district for redevelopment
Okay.
In Volusia County.
from Volusia County. Yeah, they have it.
And the reason why ours is allocated more because of the hotels industry and everything in the area, correct?
The property's more valuable.
This is my first time seeing the budget, so I was curious.
Yes,
And thank you, Ken
thank you.
and Angela. Nice presentation.
Yes.
The only comment I have is it would be nice to have some access to the budget. In other words, 10 or 15 minutes to ask of projects that we are interested in pursuing, like signage, improvement in signage and things, is included in there. And if not, how would we do something like that? To me, a budget on this, when I served on several other city boards, not this one, but several other city boards, the advisory board had a section in the budget that they were asked about before the budget went before the CRA, the City Commission acting as a community redevelopment agency. I'm assuming that you have included those things that you've heard us talk about that we're interested in. Peabody is obviously one of them, to keep the ball rolling on the improvements in Peabody. No?
Peabody has their own budget.
Oh, they have their own budget?
Yep.
But their budget, does the Peabody budget contain any redevelopment trust funds?
No.
It's all city. Well, one of the budgets you handed out to us had $1.5 million projected in the future for reheating and air conditioning of Peabody, and it was it came out of the trust fund category, I thought.
It's on the Public Works report because the Peabody is in a redevelopment area.
Correct. Correct. How about the police budget for the substation? Where is that? I mean, the big topic of conversation at the county council was our city's use of redevelopment funds to help pay for the substation, because we proved to them, to the county council, that we had a crime problem in the redevelopment area and we needed police there and we needed a station there. I mean, I sat there for several hours, I don't know, 6 years ago in DeLand when that discussion was. So maybe things have changed since then. Some of our colleagues don't like history. I think it's hard to move forward if you don't know where you've been. So to me, history is important. But so these are out of the tax increment financing, out of the funds that are passed on to us from the county, from the tax rolls of these properties that are taxed. It's $5 million for Main Street. Is that correct? Roughly.
Yes.
Yes.
That's okay. And the little short budget of 4 or 5 items adds up to what? $5 million? I mean, I know how cities and counties work differently than human beings do. They have to end their years with, where everything balancing. I understand that. Is that? sort
Yes.
of that's
That's
the form.
accurate.
Okay, and that's why it's the way it is. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Ken.
Any other questions on the budget? No.
It's a bookkeeping thing.
Yes, it's bookkeeping.
I guess the bottom line question is what is the balance in the Main Street Redevelopment Trust Fund unspent dollars right now, in addition to the budget? The budget is one thing, but do you know roughly what we have in there?
We don't know, right? Our finance department does keep track of that,
Yeah,
but we don't necessarily keep track of that individually.
because before the purchase of the Corbin building, I thought Corbin dollars came out of the trust fund.
It did.
It did.
Yeah, well, then we should know what's in there. I mean,
That was almost a year, it was over a year ago.
yeah, that was $3 million, was it, for the Corbin building? I think we had 15 million sitting in the unspent dollars in the just the Main Street, not
doubt
South
that.
Atlantic is something like that. I don't know, but maybe it was
No.
12 after, maybe 12 before the 3 million. But I think that's at the genesis of your question is how much money really is there? How much is in the savings account, not the checking account? We're looking at the checking account.
Well,
Happy to see it, but
Yeah.
the funds have to be spent within a certain given period of time.
Yeah.
So there probably isn't a large accumulation because the way the statute is written, we're required to spend it within a relatively short period of time.
Or else it's unusable.
Right.
Oh, well,
It would go back to, some of the money would go back to the taxing authorities.
yeah, and none of it in the history of the Main Street redevelopment area, money has gone back to the county.
Right, because they spend it.
Thank you. All right, we have the board meeting calendar. Does anybody have any questions about the calendar that we have?
Or any
Does everybody
change?
see it? Any changes anyone wants to make? Anything? Didn't see it? Oh, let's take a look at it real quick and make sure it's good.
It's Wednesdays, right?
up
Yes.
month
Yeah,
one.
Yes,
it's Wednesday,
it's the
so it's
second
only
Wednesday.
so movable.
While you're looking,
Oh, it's on
The
the,
last
watch
page.
the News Journal, because our picture's gonna be in it.
oh no, really?
Yeah.
What?
Well, you're gonna look pretty in it, I'm just old.
Whose picture?
Pardon?
Whose picture is going to be in it?
My kids.
Ah.
I thought you meant us.
No,
Oh, confusion.
no, because the bike.
I didn't shave.
No, because we make the gold motorcycle
Oh, yeah.
that the bikers like, and the
Yeah.
bike we coined, so they came and took
They
pictures.
came and took pictures.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, so,
This looks fine to me.
January 5th.
yeah. Yep.
It's not complicated. I don't see anything crazy on there.
Do what now?
As long as I don't have to
Gotta
be
go
up here
around
on my
every one of
birthday.
them. Yeah.
When's your birthday?
Okay.
June.
So
Oh,
I was
now
just like,
we
nope, not my birthday.
go around everyone for comments. Yeah. All right. That-
Whether they have it or not.
Right. Ray, do you have any issue with the,
No, that's
No.
it's fine.
it's all good for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great for me.
William?
Great for me.
Okay. Amy? Anything?
Happy.
Good?
Yep.
I'm good. I think this is all right. It avoids the major bike events, so I'm good.
They did that
Yeah,
intentionally.
thank you.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't always historically been that way. I've had a few in the middle of bike events, and it's very hard to navigate when you have a business on the street to make it to a meeting. You have any changes you want made or any?
No changes in the dates. I do want to thank the staff, Angela and Ken, for the information forthcoming in a number of areas. They warmed the cockles of this old heart. I felt so good about learning that we are on the cutting edge now of running Peabody Auditorium, and I have as great or greater expectations than all of us in the city do, because I know what a gem it is, and I think we've got a wonderful management team. They understand the 21st century, and bravo, 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 and I would entertain them coming back to this board if there's any way we could help them move forward, because it's, I think, probably this is going to be the first year that we'll actually show a surplus in Peabody Auditorium, an actual, real surplus. So, bravo. And thank you.
Thank you very much for all the information, guys. Thank you. Moving on to old business. Does anybody have any comments they would like to make on old business that we haven't already commented on? Because I think we've already covered a lot of it.
Well, I looked into Amy's suggestion of two of our visitors about wild plant material in the public right-of-way and the highways. And, you know, there are some counties that have wedged that through in North Florida. Maybe the growing conditions are different, might have had something to do with it. I was very skeptical that it was even possible to do, but I think it might be worth pursuing, Amy.
Oh, of course.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to bring up?
I like that. What Amy had brought that up, but she brought up a very valid point with parking. I think we ought to look into that and start to push that concept you had with parking.
I'm not crying, I'm just trying not to cough.
Don't
Went
cry.
down the
Breathe.
You didn't make me cry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make her cry. Just have it on the record. I apologize. I don't want to give people anything.
You know, it might be helpful if a member of this board attended the Bike Week event master plan meetings, because that's really where the city gets put into a position that it has to agree with the chamber on parking that
We know what
encourages,
date that
you
is
know.
right now for the Bike Week master plan?
Yeah, I think that would be important for
I
someone.
know we had one that
Next
passed.
year.
Next year. Yeah.
It's next year.
We had one that.
Whatever it is.
You know I'm on that board.
Do what?
He's on the board.
I'm on that board.
Oh, well, one of the last times we had it, it was like they coincided at the same time, so I wasn't sure. That might have been before
That's
you
probably
were.
why she came up with a great idea. That's
I think
probably
that
why
was
you came up
before
with a
you were
great
on the
idea.
board. Yeah.
That was a good idea.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's all I had to add.
That was a great idea. Anyone else on old business? No? All right. So we're going to move on to public comments. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue, one of the many residents at the meeting. Couple of things. One, Gary, there are awful colored houses in the Main Street area. Bright fluorescent yellows, oranges, things that we really don't want. So there are there. I think we could easily ask the city to have code when they're driving by. If they see that, add that to their list, because it's very easy to do. Secondly, we are getting new police officers. Traditionally, when I got here, we had 2 police officers for Beachside, one north of Main Street, one south of Main Street, and there were 30 in Midtown. Midtown is smaller than Beachside, fewer people, and had 10 times the number of police officers. When these police officers are coming on board, ask that we have them in sufficient numbers, because we're not a population of 12,000. We have people work on Beachside, that's 40,000. We have tourists on an average of 40,000. So we have like 100,000 people on Beachside, and now we were up to 5 people when Chitwood got here. I'm told that we were up to 8. So I don't know what we're at now, but whatever it is, it's still too few. Because when I drive through the neighborhood, I see 2 cops a month in my neighborhood. That's not a lot, you know? So, kiosk, there's so many interesting kiosks, you see them at all the malls and whatnot, that literally you touch. You want restaurants, you touch. I'm hoping that we get that kind, and that they be as new a model as we possibly can get, all right? Parks, we have a park on the river. We had somebody here who was very interested in the park. She voted on having that park before, it was supposed to be a natural park with trees and whatnot. And then Jim Chisholm decided that he would bulldoze them all out. He left one natural tree. At the city commission meeting, the mayor said it will never be a park and we will never be able to use it. Since you all paid for it out of funds, that I think you should know, are we going to be able to have one? We should have one, because basically we have one little dinky one off of Main Street, I think on Oleander, and that's it. So for an area with the money that you all generate, there should be more parks. I'm asking that you think about a park underneath the ISB bridge. There's a lot of land on the south side. There's none on the north side. But we could acquire, before that building is built, a easement to put a boardwalk underneath it.
Well, there's gonna be a trail underneath it.
Yeah, maybe.
No, I think that's in the, at least the Browns think it's in the plans,
No, on our side?
on the mainland side.
Yeah, but no, I mean on our side.
No,
I want a bridge under, I want a way for people walking and biking, not to have to cross. If you've tried that crossing where the bridge ends, it is almost impossible. So,
I think if you.
I think there should be a
Bridges over there.
a location there.
You tried to take a bicycle over the Main Street Bridge?
Okay, and,
I think the 3 million for the park was not redevelopment dollars. I think the 3 million for the park was, a lot of it was a federal grant, because I remember Commissioner Sheila McKay Vaughn brought it up at the 11th hour. The deal was that the city would use that money to buy the park, and that we, the redevelopment dollars, would make it into a park.
Right.
So you're right there. And I don't think that Mr. Chisholm wanted to deforest the whole thing. They put in a water line. We had
have you seen that park?
failure. Well, I see it every time I go over the bridge.
The
Yeah,
trees
it's
are
pretty
not
bare.
there.
It's pretty
They didn't
bare.
just vanish for no reason.
It's pretty bare. Now, it used to be a historic homestead, and
Correct.
and a very important historic homestead that was torn down when the Kelly Tire Company thing went in. But
Okay.
I think we talked about that park as a project that we would be interested in talking to the city commission as the redevelopment agency about doing something with. I think that's isn't that still on the table, folks? The park at the end of Main Street, right there at the bridge.
Depends on if anyone at the city thinks it's on the table.
Well, but they're gonna ask what we think of that piece of property. It was $3 million, and it's sitting there fenced in.
Would love to see a park open.
Okay,
Yes, Helen.
I want to ask about that. Because a lady came from the state, and I remember talking with her about, because eventually there'd be no place for people, little kids and their dad, to launch a boat.
Right.
That's why that was set aside, and it was going to be where they could launch and go over to Beach Street, have lunch, come back. The next thing I know, fences were put up, and I thought, what happened to that? We got that property.
Right.
Why is that sitting unused? It was my understanding that the people that owned the property south of that didn't want lowlifes being in here, and I thought, come on.
It's a park.
This is where parents and kids want to be able to go. Yeah.
Right.
The fencing went up when the construction of the water line went in, because it's a state law. They could not keep that open. I mean, that was a major important project, that water line. We lost our fresh water on the city. You remember, John?
Yep. And lastly, on Silver Beach, I attended the meeting, saw the diagram. It went from a very gorgeous building to a very nondescript building. It appears to be sitting on a 7-story block. The building itself, if you know where the Horizons is, that curved building, all right, it looks like 3 sides of the Horizon and 1 side taken out. So that's where the pool is. It is very, I don't want to say it's ugly, it's bland, it's nondescript. It will not enhance the Beachside in any way. It's just another building. It'll be upscale, more money, but it doesn't have what I believe we need on the Beachside. Dynamic buildings, gorgeous buildings. Buildings, when people come in, can sit there and say, oh my God, that's gorgeous. If you've seen Dubai, they spend tons of money. There's no building basically in Dubai that's not ugly. London, they have some unusual, unique buildings. All of ours are rectangular, bland, other than the Plaza and the Hilton. They're the only ones that are different, and that's not enough to enhance. So
I wondered myself why they changed the design concept so much, just
Right.
for 7 stories.
It's
You
just-
could keep the same design elements.
Well, to get-
It would
to get-
seem.
To get
Yeah.
more.
I'm not an architect,
more
but it would
capacity
seem.
In a lower building.
Yeah.
It would
seem.
what they did.
no, they're literally taking
Keep the same style.
almost a third of the building to half the building is taken out because of the pool.
Right.
And because the parking garage has been narrowed, they're going like from 300 to 200 units. They're losing a number of units, a large
Not
number.
over yet, though.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll see what happens.
I haven't built anything yet.
But, and then lastly, Kelly, Kelly White was our commissioner at one time, and I took her on a walk on Main Street, and she came up with what I think was a fantastic idea. She had thought that the designer from Disney, who designed Main Street Disney, went into private practice. And she thought we could get him for a nominal fee to look at our Main Street and look at a building and say, well, if you add this, change this, and then, so it could, there's some kind of a cohesive,
Well, I mean,
Look.
we already have a sign company in the area that does the majority of the signs for Disney and
Oh,
Universal.
beaches, have you
Yeah.
been in the back?
I mean-
of the Beaches?
oh,
It was all done this.
I mean,
right.
Yeah, in fact, the restaurant inside.
Don Bell in Port Orange is the one. who's
Disney's
done all of
private
that
property
stuff.
and what we're talking about Main Street is,
No, you didn't hear me, Gary. What we're doing is hiring him to come up with a design, and then because to sit there and say, we'd like you to change your building and you pay for it. To me, and when we talk, it's we would like to change all of Main Street at one time, and to do that, we will go into our funds, city funds, to change your building at no cost so that we can have this unifying, nice look up and down Main Street.
I think it's.
So to me, if we want those buildings changed, because some of those buildings are not the best they can be, if we want them changed, they're not going to change them on their own dime. So we have to do it in order to improve all of Main Street all at one time. Thank you.
I agree, that's a good point, but it's got to be in the budget. We just got to make sure the budget's there.
Oh, your budget's there, trust me.
I'm happy to pay a bunch of it to Matt, you know.
Ellen, what do you think about it?
All right.
I think that's a great idea.
I think it's a
but how
great-
do we-
Well, I guess we're moving on to board comments naturally here.
They come up with a great
We're on board
idea and they
comments.
take part, and I'm happy to pay more than half of it or whatever.
Yeah, all right. Board comments. Does anybody have any comments we haven't already covered in this meeting?
I have one comment.
I'm sure we
and
have a
This
few.
is directed at Angela, your signage, correcting the signage. Are we talking about Daytona property, or we're talking about commercial property or privately owned property?
Well, the signage is the one that is on A1A and Main Street. It says Boardwalk Amusement District.
Okay,
It's if you
so
go-
that's city property, correct?
It is. The city maintains those signage.
And do we have any power with the city for private property? Case in point, Oceanside, because the old movie theater and pizzeria, that's no longer there. Those signs are just like falling apart. It looks like a wreck over there.
Where?
At Ocean Center.
Ocean Walk.
Ocean
The
Walk,
Ocean
I'm sorry,
Walk.
Ocean Walk.
Yeah, Ocean Walk.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why
well.
we are proposing this new grant and see if we can incentivize them with more money and see if they can change that, because we can pay for part of, we are not going to pay for everything because the business owner needs to, contribute with, but we can pay for the big portion of the project.
Is that part of the redevelopment planning board?
Now it's
It
do-
is,
to do stuff like
it is
that?
part of our plan, yes.
Okay. I just want to bring it up. I'm not sure if it's on the plan or.
And
it
then
will
we
be.
do have a line item on our budget for facade grant.
Bravo.
Is in there.
For the.
For the
site.
facade.
Oh, the facade. Okay. Perfect.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
Any other?
That's it.
William, do you have any comment? No? Amy? Nothing? Okay. Helen?
I'm happy.
I have one question. With our kiosks that we're doing, are we gonna integrate that with things on social media and online? So I think that's a challenge we face as a city in general, is that things come and nobody knows because we don't have enough online presence of our events that happen.
Yes.
Are we going to integrate it?
Yes.
Okay.
And,
I was thinking we would if we were going that high tech, that we probably would.
We are going to
Yeah.
use the QR codes in all the advertisement,
Right,
so you can
right,
go to the city webpage.
right.
Right.
Or we're going to put that online, on social
Yes,
media,
it's
on all
going to be
that.
a
and- yeah.
joint effort.
That's excellent.
Because we want to
Yeah.
increase our presence in social
I
media.
think that's going to be a game changer.
But
Yeah,
as well as the kiosk.
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just a question. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
Does anyone from the city staff attend the Convention and Visitors Bureau Art and Entertainment Subcommittee? Because we did an arts map that was circulated on the I-4 corridor. We had television commercials to bring people into Daytona Beach to Peabody Auditorium when the London Symphony was here. And each year, the Convention and Visitors Bureau gets the bed tax,
Okay.
which is a huge amount of money. And they're very interested, I think, in supporting increased tourist business and quality activities in the Main Street area. But if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, as the saying goes. And I would strongly urge maybe somebody from development to contact
Okay.
the chairman of the Convention and Visitors Bureau and see about getting somebody from the city to sit in on there. Maybe somebody from Peabody would do it. That would be a natural fit. But it could be anybody from the development area. There's huge amounts of money to advertise and market our city through the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Okay.
But if you're not there, it won't happen. I used to chair that committee, did it for 8 years, and sat on the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we promoted and pushed our city as a historic cultural destination, and we did very well. We had great numbers proving that people will come here. We actually had a Rolls-Royce rally out at the Speedway where Rolls-Royce owners from all over the Southeast came to Daytona
Wow.
Beach when the Hilton opened and did a spin around the track. It was fantastic. It was on all the nightly news shows, and it was $1 million worth of free advertising and the city looked wonderful. And the city actually has more to offer now than it did then. So it might be something that just got overlooked that might be worth looking into.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Gary. All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to introduce, we have 2 new staff people.
I noticed.
Our minutes. Yeah, and Mrs. Fuqua, Phoebe Fuqua.
Hi.
Who is
Hi,
our
Phoebe.
program manager, who's focusing on the downtown and DDA
Okay.
areas.
Very good. Great to meet you. Welcome. All right. Well, meeting adjourned.